Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Today we're going to be looking at something that might seem deceptively simple on the surface, the Request a Quote button.
Okay.
On Google Business Profiles.
Yeah.
We've got this insightful blog post from Now Technology Systems. And the thing that really grabbed my attention was they're really highlighting how Australian businesses can really benefit from this feature.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just about throwing a button up there on your profile. It's really about how this simple tool can kind of play a big role in your overall digital strategy, customer service even,
Right.
and even you kind of reflecting certain aspects of Australian business culture.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think sometimes we underestimate the power of these small details, in the digital world these days.
Mm-hmm.
In a way, your Google Business Profile is kind of the new storefront,
Right.
especially in Australia where, online presence is becoming, more and more crucial.
Absolutely. Now, the blog post really dives into the benefits of this, and I was really struck by how impactful they can be. For customers, it's all about convenience, but for businesses, it goes much deeper than that. Increased engagement, of course, that's a given.
Yeah.
But the post also argues that it can actually boost your credibility as a business. Is that something you've seen in practice?
Absolutely, yeah. It all boils down to, responsiveness and transparency.
Right.
Which are really highly valued, in the Australian market. Imagine you're a customer, right? And you find a business online, it's late at night, you're interested, but you don't want to wait until, business hours to get information.
Right.
The Request a Quote button provides that instant connection.
Right.
And from the business perspective, it shows you're proactive and eager to connect with, potential clients.
Yeah. It's almost like having a 24/7 salesperson available, to engage with those leads. Now, setting up the button itself seems, pretty straightforward. The blog post has a really good step-by-step guide, but are there any kind of nuances that businesses should be aware of, especially when it comes to maximizing its effectiveness?
Yeah, definitely. While the setup is, pretty simple, relatively simple, there's a few key things to consider.
Cool.
First, verification is crucial.
Right.
Make sure your Google Business account is fully verified and all your information is up to date. You wouldn't want to miss out on leads because of an outdated phone number.
Oh, absolutely not. No, that's such a simple thing, but it can make a huge difference.
Yeah. The second point is about personalization. When you set up that automated response, put some thought into it. Don't just send like a generic message. Acknowledge the customer, maybe mention something specific to their request or, about your business. That personal touch can go a long way, in setting the tone for a positive customer experience.
It's about going that extra mile, which, from what I've observed is a hallmark of a lot of successful Australian businesses.
Right.
Now, here's where things get really interesting, I think. The blog post goes beyond just, bringing people to your profile.
Yeah.
It talks about how this button can actually help you generate leads, collect valuable data, and gain deeper customer insights. And I think that's something that a lot of businesses struggle with, especially in the digital space.
Yeah, you're right. This is where the real power of the Request a Quote button lies.
Mm-hmm.
It's about working smarter, not harder. Let's say, a potential customer clicks that button. They're telling you what they're interested in, how they found you, maybe even, some specific requirements that they have. That information is invaluable for any business, especially when it comes to, tailoring your marketing and sales strategies. And it's all captured automatically,
right?
Allowing you to focus on other important tasks.
It's almost like having a built-in market research tool, working for you around the clock.
Right.
But what kind of data are we talking about specifically? I think that's where a lot of businesses get a little lost.
We're talking about things like, the customer's contact information, obviously.
Right.
But also, what product or service they're interested in, what questions they might have, their location, all valuable pieces of information that can feed into your CRM or other systems.
Right. So now you're not just attracting leads, you're actually gathering valuable insights into what they want, what they need. And that can be hugely beneficial when it comes to, personalizing those interactions, offering a more targeted approach.
Exactly. And the beauty of it is this data collection happens organically.
Right.
It's not like you're, bombarding customers with surveys or intrusive forms or anything like that. It's all integrated seamlessly into their, natural interaction with your business.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Now, speaking of best practices, the blog post kind of highlights a few key areas. Personalizing responses we've already, we've touched upon.
Mm-hmm.
But they also emphasize regular updates, adhering to Australian regulations, establishing feedback loops. It's like a condensed guide to customer service excellence in the digital age.
It is. And I think what's particularly relevant for Australian businesses is that emphasis on transparency and trust. Australians value businesses that are upfront, reliable, and committed to providing, a positive customer experience. By implementing these best practices, you're essentially showcasing those values through your, digital interactions.
It's like you're saying, hey, we're here, we're responsive, and we're committed to providing you with the best possible service.
Precisely. Yeah. And that can be a powerful differentiator, in a competitive market.
Now, here's something that really, really caught my attention. The blog post claims that being responsive with your quotes can actually boost your visibility in local search results. So not only are you making customers happy, you're also, potentially improving your chances of them finding you in the first place.
Yeah.
That's a win-win, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It all ties back to how, Google's algorithms work.
Right.
Prompt responses signal to Google that you're an active, engaged business.
Mm.
It shows you're prioritizing customer service, which is something Google values. And that, in turn, can lead to a higher ranking in search results, making you more visible to potential customers.
It's like the simple button is having a ripple effect across your entire online presence.
That's a great way to put it, and it reinforces the point that even, seemingly small details can have a significant impact on your overall, digital strategy.
Yeah, I think it's worth acknowledging the source of this valuable information, Now Technology Systems. They're clearly passionate about helping Australian businesses thrives in the digital landscape.
They are. And what I appreciate about their approach is they really understand the nuances of the Australian market. They know what works, what doesn't, and how to navigate the specific challenges and opportunities that businesses face here.
Okay. So we've established that the request a quote button is more than just a simple call to action. It's a tool that can be leveraged to enhance customer service, gather that valuable data, and even boost your visibility online. But how does it translate into, tangible results for businesses?
Yeah.
Are there any examples of Australian businesses that have seen success using this feature?
There are many examples. We could look at a case study of a local tradesperson, for instance. Before implementing the request a quote button, they relied primarily on, phone calls and emails.
Right.
Which could be time consuming and difficult to manage.
I can imagine, especially when you're out in the field all day.
Exactly. But after integrating the button into their Google Business profile, they saw a significant increase in leads. Customers found it much easier to request quotes outside of business hours, and the tradesperson could manage all inquiries through a centralized system.
Right.
This freed up their time to focus on actually completing jobs and providing, excellent service.
So it's not just about attracting more leads. It's about streamlining that entire process.
Exactly.
Which is a huge time saver for busy business owners.
Another example we could look at is, a retail business. They use the request a quote button to offer personalized quotes for bulk orders or custom products.
Oh, that's interesting. It opens up a whole new avenue for customer interaction.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
By offering this option, they were able to cater to a specific segment of their customer base, who were looking for more tailored solutions. And the data they collected through the button allowed them to identify trends and adjust their offerings accordingly.
So it's a continuous cycle of learning and improvement.
Right.
All driven by this simple button.
That's a great way to put it. It's about using technology to create a more efficient, personalized, and ultimately successful customer experience.
This has been incredibly insightful so far. We've covered so much ground, from the basic functionality of the button to its potential impact on customer service, data collection, and even search engine visibility. And we've even heard some real world examples of how Australian businesses are using it, to their advantage.
It's clear that this, seemingly simple tool can be a powerful asset for businesses looking to enhance their online presence and connect with customers in a more meaningful way.
And I have a feeling we're just scratching the surface here. We'll be back after a short break to delve even deeper into this topic and explore some specific strategies for implementing the request a quote button effectively.
All right, so we've seen how the request a quote button can be a real game changer for Australian businesses.
Mm-hmm. But let's get practical. What are some tangible strategies that listeners can implement to really make this button sing?
Well, one of the most effective strategies is crafting, compelling automated responses.
Hi.
Think of it as your digital handshake.
Wait.
You want to acknowledge the customer, express appreciation for their interest, and set clear expectations for what happens next.
Could you give us an example of what that might look like in practice?
Absolutely. Let's say you're a florist, right?
Okay.
Someone clicks the request a quote button for a wedding bouquet. Your automated response could say something like, "Thanks for reaching out about your special day. We've received your request, and one of our expert florists will be in touch within 24 hours to discuss your vision and provide a personalized quote. In the meantime, feel free to browse our online gallery for inspiration."
I like that. It's personal, it's informative, and it kind of subtly guides them towards further engagement.
Exactly. And notice how it sets a time frame for response as well.
Right.
Which manages expectations and reinforces, your commitment to customer service.
That's a great point. I think a lot of businesses might be hesitant to use automated responses, fearing they'll come across as impersonal. But the way you framed it, it actually enhances the customer experience.
It's all about finding that balance between efficiency and personalization.
Right.
Another strategy worth exploring is A/B testing different button placements and wording.
A/B testing. You're really diving into the digital marketing playbook here.
Well, why not? This is about optimizing for success.
Right.
You might find that placing the button, prominently on your profile page yields better results than having it tucked away in a menu somewhere. Or you might experiment with different call to action phrases like, get a free quote or request a custom quote.
It's about finding what resonates, best with your target audience. I like that data-driven approach.
And speaking of data, one of the most valuable aspects of the request a quote button is the wealth of information it provides about your customer base.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't just about collecting names and email addresses. It's about understanding customer needs, preferences, and pain points.
So how can businesses effectively leverage this data? It's one thing to collect it, but it's another to actually put it to good use.
That's where, integrating the data into your CRM or, other marketing platforms comes in. Let's say you notice a trend of customers requesting quotes for a specific service during a particular time of year.
Right.
You can use that insight to tailor your marketing campaigns, offer special promotions, or even, develop new service packages that cater to that demand.
It's almost like having a direct line to your customers' thoughts and needs.
And that can be, incredibly powerful when it comes to building lasting relationships and fostering loyalty. And don't forget about personalization. You can use the data collected through the button to segment your audience and deliver, targeted messages that resonate with their specific interests.
So instead of sending generic email blasts, you can tailor your communication based on individual customer preferences. That's a level of personalization that wasn't really possible before.
And it ties back to the Australian value of building genuine connections.
Oh.
You're not just treating customers as transactions. You're recognizing their individuality and tailoring your interactions accordingly.
That's a really important point. Now, you mentioned earlier the importance of adhering to Australian regulations.
Right.
What are some key considerations businesses should keep in mind in this regard?
Well, one of the most important is the Privacy Act of 1988, which governs how, personal information can be collected, used, and disclosed. It's crucial that businesses have a clear privacy policy in place and that they obtain, explicit consent from customers before collecting any personal data.
So transparency is key here.
Absolutely, yeah. You want to be upfront with customers about what information you're collecting, how you're using it, and what steps you're taking to protect their privacy.
Another regulation that comes to mind is the Spam Act of 2003.
Right.
How does that apply in the context of the request a quote button?
Well, the Spam Act essentially prohibits, businesses from sending unsolicited commercial, electronic messages. In the context of the button, it means you can't use the collected data to bombard customers with marketing emails or messages without their consent.
So you can't just assume that someone requesting a quote is automatically opting in to receive, marketing materials.
Exactly. Yeah. You need to have a clear and unambiguous, opt-in process, and you need to respect, customers' preferences when it comes to communication.
That's a really important point. It's all about, building trust and maintaining ethical practices, which as we've discussed is highly valued in the Australian market.
Another key aspect of compliance is data security.
Okay.
Businesses have a responsibility to protect the personal information they collect from unauthorized access, use, or disclosure.
So what are some practical steps businesses can take to ensure data security?
Well, it starts with having, robust security measures in place, such as, strong passwords, firewalls, and encryption.
Okay.
It's also important to regularly review and update, security protocols and to educate staff on best practices for data handling and protection.
It sounds like there's a lot to consider, but it's all in the service of creating a safe and trustworthy experience for customers.
Exactly. And when you get it right, the benefits far outweigh the challenges.
Right.
Not only are you protecting your customers and your business, but you're also building up a reputation for reliability and integrity.
Now, we've talked a lot about the practicalities of implementing the request a quote button, but I'm curious about the bigger picture. How do you see this tool evolving in the future?
That's an interesting question. I think we'll see even greater integration with other digital platforms and tools. For example, imagine the button seamlessly connecting with scheduling software, allowing customers to book appointments or consultations directly through their quote request.
Wow, that would streamline the process even further.
We might also see more sophisticated AI powered chatbots integrated into the button, providing instant responses to common queries and offering personalized recommendations based on customer data.
That sounds futuristic, but also incredibly exciting. It opens up so many possibilities for enhancing that customer interaction and creating a more personalized experience.
Another trend I anticipate is the rise of voice search optimization in the context of the request a quote button.
Okay.
As more and more people use voice assistants to find businesses and services, it will be crucial for businesses to optimize their online presence for voice search, ensuring that their button is easily discoverable and that their automated responses are tailored, for voice interaction.
It's like we're on the cusp of a whole new era of customer engagement.
Yeah.
Driven by technology and powered by data.
And it's all about finding ways to leverage these advancements to create a more more human-centered experience,
Right.
fostering, genuine connections and building lasting relationships.
We've covered so much ground in this deep dive, and I'm sure our listeners are feeling a little overwhelmed with information.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, is there any one key takeaway you'd like to leave them with?
I think the most important takeaway is this. The request a quote button is more than just a simple call to action.
It's a powerful tool that, when used strategically, can transform the way you interact with customers, streamline your business processes, and ultimately drive growth.
Right.
It's about embracing the opportunities of the digital age, while staying true to the values that matter most to Australian businesses: transparency, integrity, and genuine connection.
That's a great way to sum it up. And on that note, I think it's time to shift gears and explore something that's been on my mind throughout this entire conversation. I mean, we've talked a lot about the benefits for businesses, but what about the customer's perspective?
Right.
I'm wondering, could this emphasis on automation and efficiency, could it actually detract from that personal touch?
Right.
That Australian businesses are kind of known for? Yeah, that's a really, really insightful question, and it is important to address that potential concern. You're right. Australians, they value that genuine interaction and a sense of connection, but I think the key here is balance. Automation, it shouldn't replace human interaction altogether.
Right.
Instead, it should enhance it.
Could you give us an example of how that might work in practice?
Certainly. Let's go back to our florist example, right?
Okay.
The automated response, it acknowledges the quote request. It sets a time frame for a personalized follow-up.
Right.
That follow-up, perhaps a phone call or a detailed email, that's where the real human connection happens. The florist can ask questions, understand the customer's vision, and offer expert advice. The automation simply streamlines those initial steps, freeing up time for that valuable personal interaction.
So it's not about replacing the human element. It's about using technology to make it more focused, more effective.
Precisely, yeah. And that's where I think the request a quote button can actually strengthen those personal connections.
Okay.
By making it easier for customers to initiate contact and receive prompt responses, you're demonstrating respect for their time and showing that you're genuinely interested in helping them.
It's like you're laying the groundwork for a more personalized, more meaningful interaction down the line.
Exactly. And let's not forget the data collection aspect.
Right.
When you understand, your customers' needs and preferences, you're better equipped to provide, tailored solutions and recommendations, which ultimately leads to a more satisfying customer experience.
It all circles back to that customer-centric approach that's so, integral to Australian business culture.
Absolutely. And I think that's an important point to emphasize. Technology should always be used in a way that enhances, not diminishes, those core values.
Well said. This deep dive has really challenged my initial assumptions about the request a quote button.
Okay.
I went in thinking it was just a simple tool, but we've uncovered so many layers of complexity and opportunity.
It's a testament to the fact that even seemingly small details can have a significant impact when viewed through the lens of strategy and customer experience.
So for our listeners who are ready to embrace the power of the request a quote button, what's one piece of advice you'd offer to ensure that they're using it effectively and ethically?
I would say start with your customer.
Okay.
Put yourself in their shoes and consider what would make their experience easier, more enjoyable, more meaningful. Then use the request a quote button and all its associated features to facilitate that experience. Don't be afraid to experiment, gather data, and constantly refine your approach.
It's about finding that sweet spot between automation and personalization, efficiency and genuine connection.
Precisely, and always remember, technology is a tool, and like any tool, it's only as good as the person wielding it. Use it wisely, use it ethically, and use it to build lasting relationships with your with your customer.
Yeah, that's a great note to end on. I think this deep dive has given our listeners a lot to think about and hopefully inspired them to take action.
I certainly hope so. It's been a pleasure exploring this topic with you.
Likewise. And to our listeners, if you're looking for more in-depth guidance on implementing the request a quote button or any other, digital marketing strategies, be sure to check out Now Technology Systems. They're a fantastic resource for Australian businesses looking to thrive in the online world.
They certainly are. And until next time, keep diving deep and keep exploring the ever-evolving world of digital engagement.
That's a wrap on this episode of The Deep Dive. Thanks for joining us.